This time around, we are going to look at the the logical functions in Excel, such as the if function, the AND function, and the OR function. Although we have some other logical functions such as the if error, the not, and so on and so forth. But basically, we are going to look at these three, and possibly in the course of as we go on in the course, maybe in other chapters, we'll look at other logical functions. But these three are actually very important. That's why I want to take it at this level, because we will actually be making reference to them as we go on in this course. Now, when we talk about the logical functions, we have, like I said, we can talk about the if, the and the or functions. Now, when you say the if will test a condition and return one value if it is true and another if it is false. So it's basically a true or false or yes or no stuff. And then you talk about the or and function. The and function check whether all conditions are true. That is what the AND function does. It will check whether all conditions are true, and if all conditions are true, it will return true, and if any of the conditions are false, it will return false. And the OR function will of course check whether at least a condition is true. And that is what they does. And basically, when you just say equals to if, and you see Excel will say logical test. Then when you say and equals to and, Excel will say logical. And then when you say again or, Excel will say, so basically all these three are logical functions. And then logic, when you talk about logical, you are talking about true or false, what people call Boolean, true or false. And that is it. Now, for example, if you look at this H. Now, if you want to write you want to do a basic logical test, you can say equals to this. Is this greater? Is it greater than 18? That's a test. Is A6 greater than 18? And then when you press or enter, it says false. That's true or false. So it says false. Now, when you drag this down, it says false. This is true, this is true, this is false, and this is true. Of course, this is less than 18. 14, this is greater than 18, this is greater than 18, this is 18, and of course, it's still saying false, because we said, is this number greater than 18? And you know that 18 is not greater than 18, and this is true. Now, if I want to modify this, I can say, is 14 greater or equals to 18? Or equals to 18, I can just run that test also, and then I can drag it down, and then you see when we come to 18, it says it is true. We say it is true because we've actually modified to say that is it greater or equals to 18. That's basic logic test. And also I want to say that mathematically true, talking about true or false, mathematically true means 1 and false means 0. For example, here in this test, we say equals to true multiplied by this 300. It will still return a value. It will not show you an error because that is actually 1. True in Excel, in mathematical, it is 1, and while false is 0. So if I drag this down, you see exactly what I'm saying. So this false, that is 0 times 500, of course, it will return 500. Now that's one. Now let's see how this function. We'll take it one after the other. Let's start with the some of the logical functions I have. This that we have, let me expand my screen a bit. We begin to take a look at them one after the other. Now, first and foremost, let's start with the if function. Now, so let's run this logical test by saying we want to actually say pass or fail. Pass or fail. Now, we can say equals to if, it says logical test. We say if this is actually greater than 35, what do you want Excel to do? We want Excel to return pass. Then put it in double quotes, then comma, or else, if the value is false, because we said it's true or false. So if the value is false, we want Excel to return, put it in quotation again, fail. And then close the quotation, close the parenthesis, and press on enter. And then you see that according to this test, 32 is actually less than 35, and this is failed. Then you can apply this this down, and then you see pass, fail, pass, fail, pass, fail. That's a logical test that we've just run on this Actually, this is basic. Then we can go on to the OR function. Don't forget that we said from our definition, we said that OR will check whether at least a condition is true. If at least one is true, it will return true for us. So let's check here. We want to use OR to actually see whether any of these conditions are true, at least one. So we can say equals to OR. Now it's a logical test. Is this greater than 35? Then comma. Then we go to another one. Is this greater than 35? Then we come here and say this, is it greater than 35? Then we run it for the last time. Say, is it greater than 35? And then we close our parentheses, then we press on enter. And I said it is true because this is 63 is actually greater. 63 is actually greater. This is greater. This is greater. This is greater. And then it tells us that all the conditions, at least it is true. So we can say, we can drag it down here this way. And then we have all our conditions are true. At least, as long as one of the conditions are true, it will return true. Now, for example, if I do some changes, I can say, okay, 63. If I say this is 12, you can say that it's still returning true because at least one of these conditions is true. If I come and say this is a 30, if I say this is 25, you can still have true here because one, at least this is also true. Then if I say this is 20, and then it says false because none of these conditions is true. It's greater than 35. So that's how the OR function works. So when at least one condition is true, it will return true for you. Then the AND is, of course, all the condition has to be true before you say all the conditions. Just have to make sure that all the conditions are true before it will return true for you. So we can say equals to AND. Says the logical test one, we can say this, is it greater than 35? Then comma, is it greater than 35? There is this, is it greater than 35? Then is this, is it greater than 35? Then close your parentheses and press on enter. And it says true. You can see that it says true. Now immediately if I actually change one, you can see this is true. If I actually change it, let's say for example, I actually change the 63 to 23, you can see that it will return false. So it means that when you are using the AND function, all the conditions has to be true before it will return true for you. If any of the condition is false, it will return false. So let me change it back to 63. Again, you can see that it is true. Then we can apply this formula down. You can apply this formula and you can say true, false, true, false. So from here we can go on to say, okay, from the analysis that we have done in this table, we can say, okay, this table now, if we can now write an if statement, we can say equals to if this is true. Yeah, if this is true. If this equals to true, what do we want Excel to do? We want Excel to return pass. Or else, we want Excel to return fail. Then close, and then you have it. So you can see that we've now completed our result. Here also you can say equals to if this is equals to true, equals to true, then we want exec to say pass, and then if it is otherwise, then we want exec to say fail, and then we just close parentheses and we press on enter, and then you see that it is failed. So here we can now apply this condition down. Then you see failed, pass, failed, pass, failed, pass. And none off. Now another thing I would love to do is that, for example, I want to work on this very data. Now here I have some items. I have the product name, the item cost, the quantity, the total cost, the shipping, and we have the total. Now what I want to do is that for orders above 10,000, we want to apply a shipping charge, a delivery charge of 3% on any of the orders if it is actually above 10,000. So how do we write that kind of statement using the logical function? So we can say equals to if. Now we say if this is actually greater than the value that is here, 10,000. Now you don't want, because we are going to drag this formula down and want this 10,000 to apply to all all the data set. We are going to lock it by pressing on F4, the absolute reference, so that this 10,000 does not change as we drag our formula down. Now if that is true, then we can say this multiplied by times then 3%. Now since also we are still going to drag down and we don't want this 3% to change, we are going to again apply the absolute reference, and then if that is true, do that, then or else we can say if it is false, return nothing. I can just put 0 for it to return nothing, and then I'll close and then I'll press on enter, and then you see that because 15,000 is actually greater than 10,000, that's actually applied 3% of 15,000 as our shipping cost. Then this you can drag down. You can see that some that are less than 10,000, we are having dash, 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 dash there. So those that are greater than 15,000, we have actually, based on the condition and the criteria we have set, we have actually applied the shipping charge. So we can now say this is equals to this plus basic addition this, and then you now have the total cost. Now you can drag it down, and then we have the total cost. So that's another way of course using the logical functions. I'll see you in the next lesson.